Hello, everybody. This is Krunal Nayak from My Australian Journey, and I welcome you all in today's show. And we all welcome Mr. Divesh Sareen, the Indian mate. So let's get to the person. Okay. Hello, Divesh. How are you?
I'm great, Krunal. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Excellent. We are pleased to see you, and thank you first of all for taking time on Sunday for this recording. So we absolutely amazed with your spirit of helping other people. So welcome to our show, and I've made your no, I've done your introduction, but still we want to listen a few things from yourself. So could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me and for you as well for doing this on Sunday and covering and spreading the message of the book.
Okay.
Um, a little bit about me. Um, I work in technology, product, and consulting. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
company that works and does stuff in augmented reality and
Mm-hmm.
also makes apps, websites, custom solutions for people. And I consult in the product space
Mm-hmm.
where I help people deliver their why with the what and
Right.
how. In terms of what I'll probably like to talk about more, if that's like something to go down, is the Indian Mate, the book,
Mm-hmm.
the two volumes that I've written, which is covering my journey and of people like me from Namaste to Hawaii,
Yeah.
and that's how like what it's like growing up in a middle class family in India, dreaming of a developed nation and coming here and molding yourself, and then being part of two nation and what their life is about.
Great. So could you please tell us more about the books? What's in there? Like, let's say if I'm the reader, and what should I expect in the book?
Yes, so there's two volumes, like I said. The first volume starts from the time of independence and partition of India when India went through the biggest migration in human history, as to what that was like, covering a big aspect of the history, and a lot of that was more like what even people like before us they went through, and how a nation recovered from it.
Hmm.
Um, so then it's more like what it's like growing up in an India that's westernizing at the same time and like
Mm-hmm.
belonging to a middle class family, how you grow up and having life goals to give your family the best opportunity and
Right.
preparing yourself to be able to get to that level and trying to beat the odds all the time.
Hmm.
Um, my goal was to come to Australia, which looked like that the best option at that time, looking at
Mm-hmm.
my personal circumstances. And I got a lot of help, a lot of mentors, people who helped me develop and get better. And the first volumes ends at me being at the airport, getting ready for a flight to Australia.
What about the second volume? Okay, let's discuss that.
Yeah, definitely. So the second volume of the book, it's obviously starts at me landing in Australia and like a little young kid who doesn't know much, and it's like even filling up the form of the immigration, which you tick stuff.
Yeah.
I just copied the guy next to me and where I didn't declare the milk products because you're like, I don't know what to say sometimes. And I took this kaju burfi, which is like which is my favorite sweet and very common in India as
Hmm.
well. So I brought that while on my way. And the first instance was how it's like they threw it in the bin, which was a really good reminder as to how important it is to follow the rules. And
Yeah.
um, then it covers like going to the uni, what it's like growing up here. Like, well, I came here when I was 21,
Oh wow.
and along with going to uni, doing your masters, being able to, just coming here with $1,000,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not a lot of backup. What it's like to find those odd jobs, do those odd jobs, and then still go to uni in the morning after your night shift
Hmm.
and things like that. Also getting used to the Australian culture.
Yeah.
Um, that's why even the subtitle says "From Namaste to Hawaii."
Hmm.
And there's not a lot of people who can say this without stuttering, which is to emphasize on how hard the journey can get sometimes for everyone, which is very less talked about. Um, After that, it was about actually falling in love, convincing my Indian parents not to go down the path of arranged marriage. That I've chosen my wife here, and that's something I'm not ready to change my mind with. So them meeting here, my cousin coming here to actually approve the wedding and all that stuff. Um, then yeah, just that whole journey around it, and then finally achieving life goals that the kid who came here in Feb 2008 would have said, like bringing my mum, dad, brother here over to Australia to live with me. Um, so yeah, like, and just with life lessons that if someone like me can do it, 10 years head down, then anyone can do it.
Understand. Now that's great. Like the journey you had is amazing, and I think, see, we all come with that aim to develop ourselves basically. And yes, the journey you've been through is amazing, and most of we have the story. We all have the same story basically. Who came here and a young 20 years old guy boy, and now we just turn into gray man. It's
Yes,
hard,
we
isn't
all
it?
have very similar
Yes,
stories.
yes, it's hard.
Yes.
Correct. And okay, great. So, tell me about this. What made you think writing a book?
It was driven with the purpose of, like, how you just mentioned that our stories are very similar, but no one talks about it. Like, people don't even know about our struggles or anything. And I really wanted someone to write. I'm not a writer. I got to the point of, like, I just, like, like, someone has to speak up for the community, or this challenge that people who belong to two nations, like, I'm not Indian enough anymore,
Mm,
and I'm not Australian enough.
correct.
Like, I go to India, I'm seen as the Aussie
Yeah,
guy, and in Australia, I'm seen as the Indian guy in a lot of cases.
correct.
So there were a lot of these things that started bothering me to a level that, and I felt that someone needed to bring up for people like that. And yeah, in the end, I just started writing myself. And 5.5 years later, it
Wow.
turned into a 2 volume
All
book.
right, great, amazing. So, tell me what the challenge is. Like when you write a book, like okay, let's think that I want to write a book as well. So, what are the challenges like? What you feel, and what are the struggles like? Okay, we are not from the background like writing books or writing any sort of public things. So, how difficult was it?
Um, well, before I answer that, I'll definitely say don't do it. That's my um, it's it's very, like, full on. But the honest answer is, if you do go down the path,
Mm,
don't start writing a book with the purpose of just that I want to be a writer, or I just want to write a
yeah.
book. Um, you've got to be really passionate about the topic, because it's going to be very hard, and especially for someone like me, it was even harder because English not being my first language. Um, like, the first 2 years, I wrote the whole skeleton, I wrote the whole structure, and there'll be, like, every day I'll fail, in the sense of I'll write something and then I'll throw it in the bin, or I'll cut it all down and then start it all over again. Um, I think the advice to someone, apart from writing, that you're something you're really passionate about and something you really want to add value to other people's life, is, um, build a structure around it, in the sense of what your message is. Review it on a daily basis. Like, sometimes when I was even driving, I was thinking about what my next step is. Um, get your help. Take inspiration from everywhere that you can. I read Chetan Bhagat's pipe on someone obviously being young, but then Ando's The Happiest Refugee, even movies like Pursuit of Happiness, which have been a part of my life. Those are the stories that I've been seeing from a lot of people that have inspired me. Um, and then take help.
Mm,
Like, I actually had a ghostwriter as well. I knew I couldn't write Shakespeare,
mm.
right? So I could write simple English. So I worked with a ghostwriter for 2.5 years as well
Wow,
after
wow.
that, where I knew that I'd written the stuff, and now it's like every aspect of that has to be made longer and polished, and so that when someone's reading it,
Mm,
like, it should just flow seamlessly. And I could see that I needed someone to brainstorm with,
mm.
so that's where I hired a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
Then I hired a publishing company for a year and worked with them.
Mm.
Um, so those are the steps that I went through. I'm sure everyone's, depending
Definitely.
on where they are, what their level
Yeah.
is. But another thing I'll say that I started with is that, yes, if you're crazy and passionate enough, you might not have all the answer, no resources, you'll hack it.
Exactly.
You know that
Exactly.
it can't stop you. If I can do it, honestly, I can tell you everyone can.
Okay.
But it takes time. You get a lot of these gray
Focus,
hair,
focus,
but
focus. You
it
need
comes at a
focus.
cost.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
yes,
Excellent. Now, beautiful. So, tell me about this, that writing these books, publishing them, and getting great response from people, Australian communities and Indian communities as well. So, what difference you feel now after writing and publishing the books?
I feel very thankful, to be honest. It's like something inside me, it's like has settled and feels fulfilled. Um, that's been the number one thing, and um, the goal was to even just make difference in one person's life. The next Divesh who's probably struggling, whether he or she is in India or Australia or wherever in the world, that they look at that and it's like, okay, it's not. I can still do it. Or if this guy who used to go on a bicycle and all that, like couldn't afford shit, like he can do it, then so can I. So and I feel I'm getting closer to such goals in life. Um, so yeah, that's where it is, but it's definitely very fulfilling.
Excellent, excellent, beautiful. So let's talk about your migration journey. What to answer this first before I ask you, and I've got a lot of questions for you. Sorry.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Let's start with this. How you ended up in Australia? Like when you start thinking going abroad from India, from the middle class family, and wherever you were, or where you based in India,
Punjab.
Punjab. So from Punjab, when you're trying to get out of the country, why Australia? Why you
Yeah.
choose Australia? Is there any brainstorming behind that, or was the best available option as you said?
Um, there were a few reasons. Like, first, I was thinking of staying in India. With like if I was to do my masters in business or masters in IT, how that would look like. I compared to that with my uni, I would not be able to work. And there's so many people who go from Punjab, and at that time, Australia was pretty much in trend. I knew people who had been here as well. Some of them, I had seen the success. My cousins were here as well. So also going to immigration agents, looking at how you could study and then work at night, which I was doing to some aspect in India already, to be able to pay my bachelor's wage. That made sense that, hey, by the time I finish my master, at least some of my loan would be paid off, or like I'll be able to cover a lot of that money or even save some. And the conversion of dollars to rupees is something that made me think that I could go faster in terms of being able to financially give a lot of independence to myself and people around me.
Right. Okay. And can you describe your impression for Australia? Like before you came to Australia, what was the impression in your mind? And when you get here, how that impression got changed?
Yeah, definitely. So my first impression of Australia was at one of the immigration agents' office.
Mm.
I was there, and they had this video of Great Ocean Road playing, and um, this was in early stages when I was planning. I was like, wow, that's so cool. That could be me driving on the road one day with my dream car and
Yeah.
everything. So that to answer your question, that was the impression. And my in terms of talking about the journey as well, like my cousin actually paid my first semester fee, and got $1,000, and I landed here. And Um, obviously, the foreign land, like I told you, my first interaction was, all right, well, it's not going to be like India. I don't think I can bribe people here, like a policeman or something, and um, things like that. So there was a bit of an eye opener. The first instance you land in the country, your favorite sweet's getting thrown in the bin because you didn't tick a box. So it was a very, very clear guideline and a message that, hey, if you don't follow the lines here, like you'll go out of it pretty soon. Um, The English was very surprising because I had worked in call centers. I had taught online to kids as well. Like I used to teach maths while I was in
Mm-hmm.
India, US. The Australian English transition, um, being able to say good day and then how fast they'll say it or in a different way they'll say it. And you start challenging. Do I even know English? Like I had seven in each for IELTS
Right.
when I was in India
Oh,
when I
wow.
came
Oh,
here.
wow.
Um, but then you're like, oh, do I even know English? It's like, what's going on?
You speak
Um,
different language, right?
yeah. So yes, that was a transition. But other than that, the other things that I could think of right now is basic when you move to a new country, getting used to the transport system, seeing how people live here, how you apply jobs, or going through that challenge of being the experienced guy that everyone wants, but no one's ready to give you that experience. Um, so those were the few things that I can think of right now that were a big part of that transition when I came here initially.
So now tell me about right now. What is the favorite things that you like about Australia?
Um, Favorite things, as in like what I like to do here,
Yeah,
or
yeah. So like what you love about Australia?
um, I love how Australia's developed since I came here. Um, like there's a lot of maturity. Like with all the numbers, people have opened up a lot more. I feel in terms of how like people could be not be looking at you as that Indian guy, for example. It's like you just integrated part of the Australian culture in a lot of ways. I think that's come a long way, and which I really like that people have matured up, especially since the numbers have gone up. People have had a lot of those interaction on a human level, and they're still learning that. I think there's still some ground to cover there, but that is something that if I'm talking glass half full, which I really like is that. Um, Other than that, I mean, I like traveling. I like seeing Australia. Like my favorite place to go is the Melbourne cricket ground, and um, like I like going there.
That's good.
Occasionally, footy, like the local matches. I've been part of the team
Yeah.
here. Um, yeah, that's basically a bit of it. Other than that, I'm working a bit. So
Yeah, yeah. That no, that's fantastic. The culture we live in is I think one of the best culture, could be one of the best culture all over the world, I would say. The multiculturalism and everything is amazing, amazing. No,
yes, no, it's great.
it's fabulous, yes. And from my side, I would say that loving Australia is kind of getting used to it, getting know the country, right? Like and you know more and you love more, right? That's what happening to me. Yes, and the freedom and the opportunities the country gives us is one of the best. Yes. I myself have
No,
started
definitely.
studying, now. So I'm studying right now. So yeah, and I
Uh-huh.
can't even think about studying in India at this age. So that's pretty fascinating. Yes. So while you immigrated, so let's talk about the migration part a little bit. When you immigrated to Australia, can you please describe your immigration journey, like how you came in on a student visa, how you got settled here, how long it will take to you to get settled here as a resident?
Yeah, definitely. So like I said before, like I went to an immigration agent
Hmm.
in India, where you had that video playing on the Great Ocean Road and the nice songs along with it to
Yeah.
go. I think it's probably from Salam Namaste or something.
Yes.
Um, so like from that point, it's like going through your IELTS exam, which is the English language testing
Yeah.
system. Um, so covering that requirement, I think for my course it was about six bands in each, which I was able to get. Um, and then just doing the paperwork, getting the money, talking to the agent, and using their help in terms of finding the right university for you. Um, like I was very lucky to have a contact here. Like the migration agency actually helped me. They're like, okay, we've recently sent someone in this course. We can ask them if they'll be happy to talk to you as to what that's like, because you're making one of the biggest decisions of your life. Um, so that was very helpful. So I did that. And after that, just started saving money for it, and I got help to be able to try and cover that gap. Um, that was basically my. So when I got my visa, it was like a bit touch and go because if you don't reach it by a certain date, you move into the next semester. So I just made it what like I had to enroll the next day, otherwise
Whoa.
I would have been deferred to the next semester. So I was lucky to
Good
get in here in
enroll.
the borderline.
Right. Last day, last
Um,
enrollment, right?
yes, that's kind of like 4 or 5 days late or something like that.
Right.
Um, when you say about the immigration agent, like immigration journey, Um, yes, it was a bit of an eye opener. Like when there's a lot of things thrown up at you as being a young kid. Yes, you've got a lot of passion, you've got a lot of energy, but it's a lot to cover as well sometimes. And I don't think anything can prepare you for that transition. But yes, like I try to learn a lot of these things in India because like I knew that those mistakes would cost me rupees rather than dollars. And like I try and have that edge there when I'm ready for the actual game day. Um, so at that time, I was like I could work at night, go to the jobs in the uni in the morning, and things like that. But other than that, in terms of the migration journey, I, I was like it was very smooth because I had done and planned the whole thing initially as well. Like even in terms of my visa, like I made sure like if I had to miss a shift, I did not prioritize that over my exams, and I made good friends who would sit with me. We'll talk each other and support each other. Good network friends I still talk to till day, and like we'll prepare together for exams, which was a very good support network for all of us. And like I did not have to pay any reappear, which was like $7,000 or something for each subject. I think that was a semester fee. Sorry, that was about $2,500 for each subject. So that was a lot of money plan to save rather than like earning a little bit then ending up paying repair like and then ending the path of like my visa's finished but my degree's not. A lot of those issues that I've seen some people have. So being smart about that, I would say. Um, Other than that, yeah, this when I was in the last semester, along with that, I'd already started reaching out to an immigration agent, which actually helped me in terms of like getting ready with the paperwork, so that the moment you get your degree, you start booking your IELTS exam after that, and straight away apply for your residency.
Wow. And
So that's what we did.
so what year you arrived in Australia and what year you become resident?
I came here in Feb 2008. Um, I applied for my residency pretty much Jan or Feb 2010. I actually don't remember the exact date that I got my residency. Um, but if I was to have a guess, around a year or so, I think. Um, so we didn't have to do professional year and all that at that time, but we had to get seven each in all at that time with the masters. So which was interesting because I had that when I was in India, but when I came here and I did it again, I missed it in one.
Oh,
Then I missed it in another. And then the third time I got it. Yeah.
yeah. That
So
I think that's the money
yeah,
making policy, right? Not your English, isn't it?
I don't know. Well, I've heard about those
Yes.
things. There's a lot of stories I've heard about it, but yeah, that was definitely surprising.
Mm.
Um, that if you've stayed in a country which speaks English for 2 years, your English is logically meant to go
Let
up,
it go
not
up,
down.
yes.
But hey, I don't know. I'm not Einstein.
True, true, great. So your transition from student to resident wasn't that hard. So that's something you have to score 7, but you scored it pretty quickly and you got your residency straight away. Maybe within 2 3 years, 2 years of your a student visa. So that's amazing. Actually, and a lot of people do not have that luxury. Not luxury, but sort of
You can call it luxury now.
luxury. Yes, these days is luxury. Yes, that you finish the study and you lodge your residency. These days it's been so hard for people. So this journey, like, could you please advise our viewers who are watching this, that whoever's planning to study in Australia, what they should take care of?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely advise taking it as a project. It's like the end goal, the items in between your uni things, and a lot of things that I said. I treat it as a project. That was the most important thing in my life. Like these are the days I'm meant to work. These are the days I have my classes. This is how I'm going to plan. If I miss a lecture, I'm going to watch it online. Then make a support network of my friends who are actually going to help me, not just friends who are there for having dinner with you. Be like, if you need something, you are there for them, and at the same time, like you're there, like they're there for you as well. Um, Apart from that, like using the library, using the resources, I know like that permanent residency part has gone a lot harder, but I think the good thing has also happened is a lot of people like you see from your own culture now. A lot of international student, the numbers have increased a lot.
Mm,
Like finding their network, finding their niche, um, like it should give you more confidence that people like you are doing it, or the ones who are doing well, try and work with them,
mhm,
and treating it as a project that each semester, what you have to do, having an outline, and be more disciplined and focused around it, um, and just thinking ahead.
yeah.
It's like I said before, like reach a professional person who's going to help you with that particular thing.
Mm,
If you being lazy or being like waiting for things to happen, it's like Mel Robbins says, no one's coming.
mm,
Um, you've got to figure it out. Like, yes, people can help you a bit, but you're the one who's putting all those actions in place, um, and take help where you need. I think in a lot of cases, like if you're going to ask someone for help, 80% of the times you will get help. So that's what I would say to someone. I think if you're still in India and you're thinking about it, um, I think you're in a very good position in the sense of being able to upskill yourself and get familiar. There's so much on Instagram. There's so much on YouTube. Um, like the content piece out there is like amazing. So that could be a good point. And I feel that India's westernized a lot as well now, in the sense of the malls, the knowledge, and the dealings with everything. Technology has covered that space a lot. So that will help you get ready, and in a lot of things you might already be familiar with it.
you're right. You're right. And these days, yes, when I arrived here in 2007, I haven't hardly been to a mall in India. I never saw a mall. There was not many. And when I came to here, Australia, and I went to the Coles first. Oh my God, what is this? This is a grocery shop. It was so shocking to me. Yeah. So now, the next question is about jobs. What was your first job in Australia?
My first job was working at a server.
Oh.
Um, I worked there for like 3 months or so,
Mhm.
3 4 months, I think. Yeah, and second one was at McDonald's,
Oh, wow. Okay. And you used
and
to
along with that,
earn a lot of
yeah.
hours during your struggling phase, or how was it?
Well, I'll do the weekend shifts,
Right.
um, and I'll work in the countryside because that's where it's like guaranteed shift, less competition, and I'll do the night shift.
Mm,
Because you're above 18, it's hard to get jobs there because they
right.
have to pay you based on the age.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll go very hard on in the holiday period though, and I'll get a lot of work. So again, it's like planning. The day your exams finish, the holidays have started, you could work full time at that time. Before there was only 20 hours, so you knew you could only do 3 shifts. Um, but obviously the day your uni semester end, like sometimes you have to buy. Like you might feel like going back to your home and seeing your mom and your dad, but like that's where the sacrifice piece comes in. Like, no, this is my time where I can save a lot of that money and earn a lot of that money and work 40 hours, even more if you can get overtime and stuff like that. I did a lot of tutoring work as well, which helped me because I had done a lot of that in India, which comes to the point of preparing yourself. Always when, if you're thinking of something, what are the things that you like that you can generate opportunities from for yourself?
Mm, mhm.
So I'd actually go to students' house and actually do home tutoring in maths for them.
Wow. Okay, great. So you're a maths tutor.
I used to be. I don't
Oh,
think
right.
I'm at any start anymore. That's
That's
when
great.
that's 2008 we're talking now. Now
Wow.
it's I reckon I'll be a bit rough. Like
Mm,
sorry, raw I should say.
right. And you were teaching kids, like primary kids, or who was your cohort you teaching?
Year 10, year 11,
Oh,
um, that sort of range.
wow. Okay, great. Amazing. So, and when you moved to the from these odd jobs to professional career, how long that took you to get into the professional career?
Oh, it was after my uni degree finished. So um, I I got a job in call center, which helped again that I had done a lot of that work in India. So I started transitioning with that, but at the same time, I'll apply for a lot of jobs. Like I had this where every night I'll come and at least apply for 2 or 3 jobs daily. What are the latest ones, and you try and see which ones align with me. And I promised myself, I've done such a degree, I'm going to try and get into tech, even if that meant that I'm going to do some volunteer work. So then started doing a bit of volunteer work, then became a team leader along with it, working longer hours. Still doing the McDonald's, because if you're risking something in the office jobs, nothing works out. Um, you don't want to lose what's your bread and butter. So that's something I'll do in the night shifts and the weekends still.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, and after that, just apply for jobs, and I was really good. Lucky, I should say, it was really good that I got an opportunity where I started working for one of the real estate portals in tech support. That's where I started.
Wow.
Um, and then I was there for about 8.5 years, where I gradually worked my way up to account manager, working with marketing team, product, sales, and where I learned a lot from a lot of people,
Excellent.
which helped me shape towards where I'm going now.
Yeah. And what is next coming?
Definitely not volume three. um, I think what I would say is I'm focused on being able to spread the message of the book as much as I can now. So that's definitely something um, is coming. Maybe a trip to India next year, like a book tour or something. That's what I'm thinking of. But overall, if I was to pick one thing, it's more about, again, that the purpose of writing it, being able to spread that message and help generations after that, like the next people who are struggling, who need that focus, who need that help today.
Mm, excellent, amazing view of the things that you are going towards. And pretty much I've changed my goals as well. Like now the money and the greed has gone. So yes, this should be the intention. Great, amazing. So what would you advise someone who's fresh in Australia, new in Australia, and trying to get into the job industry? What are the key factors that, okay, you have got your career and you planned your career, and it looks like you have made it deliberate, so how someone can do that, could you please guide our viewers on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely depends on your personal circumstances, and also a lot of what you know and what you've prepared for. That's going to be very handy. So whether if you were good at, um, I'm not sure, like music or doing certain things, and like, or you were good in the digital part, you can do some social work for someone. Um, but one thing I would definitely say is, if you're raw, probably while you're looking for jobs, try and find some work where you can build some portfolio into the path that you want to go on. Reach out to people where you could probably even do volunteer work with, or like I've made free websites for people in the past just because I needed to build a portfolio, and I was passionate and I knew this is the path I'm going to go down with. Um, these are the things, but I think with odd jobs, it is probably not that difficult. There's a labor shortage as it is in Australia at the moment. So if you wanted to go, McDonald's, Coles, and everything, it's a lot more easier, I feel now, to find a job than it is was at our time. And even options like Uber Eats, and all that, like these things did not even exist for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those things, I think it's more, you'll get in there, but then you'll be very passionate the first day, but 6 months later, are you going to be still at the same level? That's where I'll probably say you've got to be more on, rather than actually finding, because I think there's a lot of jobs out there,
Mm.
especially in that scale. But yes, if you're working towards a professional career,
All right.
that's where you go. Like, I've reached out to people on LinkedIn,
Mm.
like you and I had a chat, and you don't just copy paste a message. You actually read about them. You genuinely see what you like about them, and write a personalized note. Um, and I can probably bet you, like, if you've been here 6 months, you'll at least know two or three professionals that you've come on with,
All
who
right.
might be able to get you an introduction somewhere, and ask for that help.
So you're saying that reach out to other people and make a network of your portfolio, and by the time you can do some odd jobs to just run or win the bread and butter, just to get ball rolling.
Exactly, because think of it from the hiring person's perspective, Krunal. Now, you need someone who can come and do the job next day when the starter is the best possible person, that they have to choose one. You're already competing with a language barrier. You've got, say, lost 5 points on that. So it's like you've got to do all these extra steps where the person has the confidence that, hey, he's a rookie, he's got that passion, but he's got that experience as well, and he needs someone who needs someone to give him a chance. But I can already see he's doing all that work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great, great. So develop yourself basically before you get into the job industry, right?
I think so. I mean, it will help you get success a lot more in the time. You'll actually go through a lot of rejection, probably doubt your confidence, and a lot of things.
Hmm.
I think along with your uni degree in itself,
Hmm.
you should be working on these projects.
Yeah. No, and this is it. This is a struggle for most of the students or new migrants who get into the country. They are, like one of the best person in their field back home, and when they get in here, they realize, oh my God, my education, my experience does not have any value in Australia. Have you felt that?
Um, I didn't feel that a lot, but I can see how others would. For example, I think some like if you're like very specialized, like accounting and stuff like that. I know even for a dentist, you have to redo the exam and learn a lot of the new things and stuff like that. I personally had not had to go through a lot of that because business management and IT and consulting that was the kind of thing you can transition. So 80% of it, I would say at least. Um, so yeah, but obviously at a different level, but that's something that one can adapt to.
Hmm.
But yeah, again, I would say like get to know those people who are already the leaders in their field, even if they are not step 100,
Hmm.
step 5. They can tell you something you can do today. Like try and make that source. And even with jobs, a lot of jobs, I would say, from experience, they're not even advertised. A lot of
Hmm.
them are advertised internally. People you know, people you can count on,
Hmm.
people you're aware of, because you're even getting someone in your organization who, if they don't fit your culture,
Yeah.
that's that's very important, especially
Hmm.
for Australians and I would say other places as well. But I've been here longer in the professional world.
Hmm.
I just think it gives a lot of confidence and it makes sense. If you knew someone, you knew they're a good fit for your company, the culture, what you're getting, rather
Hmm.
than trusting someone in a 1 hour meeting.
Hmm. Hmm. You're right. You're right. Absolutely. That's a great tip, I think, for the people who are really seeking a new job. And what do you see any transition just because of the COVID in the job sector in Australia? So has it changed, or it's still like up post COVID? It's coming back to normal. What's your feeling about it?
Um, I think one thing that's definitely changed. I mean, from what I see is the traveling part. For some reason, the same amount of distance that I used to be able to travel very happily now feels hard. Not after COVID, like working from home is something that's very common now, and like it's just part of the chat.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a big change, and people have started looking at their life in terms of like this is not something I'm the only thing I'm meant to be doing. Like there could be a disaster and I could literally die. So that was a bit of an eye opener as well. Um, I think that's been the major change. Obviously something that businesses have to get their head around and just accept it as truth now, whether they like it or not. So that's the post-COVID world.
Right. No, absolutely. And has it impacted your work at all, or still the same?
Um, no, it hasn't. Apart from just sometimes, obviously, you'll see the confidence in the market with the interest rates and the market shaking. It's been on other aspects,
Hmm. Hmm.
but I
Hmm.
wouldn't say related to COVID.
Right.
COVID hasn't had much.
Beautiful. That's amazing. That because yes, some people I spoke to in our podcast, like it has made significant change in their lives. So that's something. Yes, it's an eye opener. Basically, you cannot imagine what would go wrong next day, and and there was the like very hard thing. But okay, apart from that, can you tell me that uh, what is the main thing misconception I'm talking about? Like when you are overseas and when you get into Australia, what is one misconception that people have, and when they come to Australia or they see the Australian facts, then that misconception goes away. So what that one misconception you want to discuss?
Um, It's a hard one to think
Hard
of,
one.
but
Leave it.
I'm no, that's fine. I do want to make sure I answer if it helps someone.
Yes.
I think a lot of that is perception as well. Like,
Mm.
um, sometimes a lot of Australian can be seen as arrogant or
Yeah.
maybe racist as well. Like I'm talking about the cricket times where they'll be sledging a lot and stuff. I'll definitely say not all of them are like that. My wife's Australian, like my mother-in-law, father-in-law, they welcomed me as a family. They've been very supportive. There are a lot of people from Australia who've taught me a lot I know today. Um, I think that this is definitely one of the big misconceptions that someone might have, and that's actually not true. But yes, you have all kinds of people everywhere. It's similar in India as well.
Yep, you're right. Yes, racists are everywhere. Racists are everywhere. You can't avoid them. Right. And so, more about your family. Like when you get into relationship with your partner, and when you because she's from different culture. How difficult you find to fit into the different culture, like Australian culture? Was it the transition is hard, or how you feel about it?
Um, the transition is definitely hard. Like you getting used to a whole new culture.
Hmm,
You're speaking a whole new language where you're probably thinking in Hindi and then speaking it out in English.
correct.
Um, I still can't eat Vegemite, um, which is, I mean, for viewers, I'd say it's their version of something.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, jam, maybe. Um, um, I mean, there are always these little things, but then um, you 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 are transitioning into a culture at the age you are in. So that first 20-25 years of your life, you haven't been. So you obviously wouldn't be able to have the same amount of as someone who's grown up here. But yeah, the transition it was a bit of a change. But I kept an open mind about it, thinking about it that this is where my life is and this is what I have to do. And if I have to reach the end goals of my project and deliver it, that's something that I should be doing. So just with that mindset, taking it day by day is something that I think I integrate and understand both sides of the coin reasonably well now.
So, what you think that one of the biggest adjustment you have to make by living in Australia? That you have to adjust every day. Like, okay, if I these things because I'm in Australia, I have to do this.
Um, I can't think of something because I think I've been here long enough that now it's just second routine. I'm trying to dig back in time. Yeah, I honestly can't. I mean, there's not something I would change every day, but
Yeah.
one thing that I do miss is um, having the friends I grew up with.
Mm,
Um, you have that special connection with those people you've grown up with and everything. But that's more on the sacrifice part of it. I mean, if there was something that was on the scale, like that would probably be one of the top things. Um, like being able to leave everything you've ever known and like being here alone and like building yourself up at the same time pretending to be okay. Um, that's something that does take a bit out of everyone, which was another reason. It's important to tell the world like what you're like. You might be just judging the guys, your 7-Eleven or Uber driver guy or anything like that. But he's going through a student phase or anything like that, and he's got a lot of commitments and a lot to prove to himself or his family and things like that.
yeah, you're right. And down this journey, have you ever felt lonely and left out?
Yeah, a lot of times.
A lot of times.
I think anyone who's gone on this journey, if they were to say they haven't, is
Hmm,
probably lying because that is what happens.
hmm,
Like one day you're in such a social culture, you probably know 100 guys. Like you could just ring and get a whole party going.
hmm.
Someone you've known like for more than a decade, and you're coming here where it's like the biggest change probably shops shutting down at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Where it's like and you start shopping at 5 o'clock. Um, like it's
Yeah.
not too big on the night. You don't know many people. You still try to gauge even after a lot of years. Like, how do I approach this person?
Hmm,
How
hmm.
do you find that middle ground where they want to talk to you and you have that good friendship going? Um, so yeah, it is. it is a lonely journey a
Yeah.
lot of times.
And how you overcome that?
Probably work more. That's what I did in
Yeah,
my initial years.
yeah.
I was more in the sense of like while you're doing that, obviously, more focused on what you hate to do as well. But that was me. It's more like, okay, I have to clear my uni, make sure I don't fail in the subject, still save money, still pay my uni fee, still try to do more than that if I can. Um, what else can I learn, or what else I can push myself for, and things like that. So that always kept me busy where you don't realize.
Mm.
And it's good enough where you could, have that $10 card you used to get at that time where you go to a
Phone pad.
Telstra phone booth
Yeah,
or a local phone booth and call for 5 minutes, and that would do,
yeah.
at that time.
Right. You're right. Yes.
So
I've done a lot,
yeah,
like
that's
late night calling, right, from the phone.
yes.
I've done a lot.
So yes, yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, obviously things take time. It's
Mm,
part of the decision you're making.
yeah.
Um, so it's just more about accepting it.
Acceptance. You should have certain level of acceptance that okay, if these things come into my life, am I ready for that? And I'm accepting it. So yes, it is a main goal of that journey, Australian journey. I would say that yes, acceptance is the key. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, yeah.
No, I think if you're migrating anywhere, not just Australia, like
Yes.
it's just
Anyway.
very,
Yeah, yeah.
even if you move to a new state within India, like
Mm-hmm.
I've got friends who moved from Punjab to Gurgaon.
Hmm.
Yes, they can go on the weekends and all that, but not every weekend, and it's still a transition phase. We're trying to gauge, make new people in your social circle. So a lot of those challenges are very similar.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even yes, cross states is also hard. So when you get your residency, you got in Australia, made your life here, and you got your job. How about settling in Australia? So when you finish your and like let's say you got a good job, your satisfactory level, buying house. How was that experience?
Um, Buying a house was after the wedding. Um, it was a bit tricky to get. Like I actually live in the hills in the Dandenong Ranges here in Melbourne. Um, that was a bit tricky because that was also like 5 years down the line. It's like my family's coming over. Where do I get a house which I can afford with my wage? You can't go to the fancy suburbs or things like that. So it was still competitive, like
Mm,
with how much me and my wife could afford at that time. And um, but yeah, we were a bit proactive. I mean,
mm,
I may as well give some housing tips. Like we actually went through the inspection. I had my mother-in-law and father-in-law as well.
right.
The moment we finished the inspection, we just knew we wanted a house. We were happy to work on everything else. We
Mm,
were just happy to be able to call something our own. We didn't know enough.
mm,
So I just made the offer the moment the open for inspection ended because I was
mm,
like, they'll probably call people on Monday. They usually
mm.
do the opens on Saturday. So that's when I came in.
Yep.
I made the offer that same day after the inspection. And on Sunday, I signed the contract at a good price because I knew they wanted to sell. Um, I got it about $40,000 cheaper. Um, but that was more like I was proactive. I had already done my homework in a lot of ways, like looked at the photos, studied about the area a bit, and had people around me who would be able to give me the guidance. Again, back to the part of build your network around people. You only need 5 good ones rather than 50 who are never going to call or help you. You know, just things like that.
Great, great. But you might have like good support from your in-laws because they've been here and they know how the things works. Because what happens for a new migrant, like okay, when I try to buy a house, I don't know nothing about it. I don't know nothing about like how to buy a house. Okay, no doubt there is some professional help. But when you know the culture of the country and when you have someone to guide towards that, was that a good help? How can you explain that?
Some of it, yes, and I think it's a lot that giving that confidence and yes, guiding you through it. But even in today's world, I feel a lot of real estate agents give you a lot of information. A lot of them put a lot of content on their social media. Like a lot of websites now even give you an estimated value of the house when you're buying it. You get a conveyancer. They tell you about a lot of that process. I think in today's world, you can asking those questions does does make it a lot easier than it was when someone like yourself, probably a lot of years before, was looking for things. You could literally put in Google now, like, I'm buying a house in Australia, tell me the steps, 10 minutes. Otherwise, there's a lot of communities now, especially like from people from India who are very smart investors and things like that, who actually have people in their network and they actually help them. So those things are very common now, especially since there's so many people who have migrated from the community.
Hmm. All right. Excellent. Thank you for that. So how's the difference you feel like? What you advise someone who's trying to get into different cultures? So now you're living Australian culture and Indian culture as well. What is the main difference? Like, tell us about it. What's the main difference between those two cultures?
Um, Difference between two cultures. I think, especially from a social point of view, is definitely such a big change. Um, like in India, I could go to any uncle's or auntie's house in the evening, drop on the way, or we'll probably catch up with at least someone maybe twice in a week or something. And it's like you're in that small area. Like I'm from a city called Ludhiana. Like that, it's not that big. You'll still catch up with each other every now and then. You'll probably see each other on the way to work or road and stuff like that. Um, a lot of that I think is less in Australia. There's a lot of that. Or working Monday to Friday, so that's a write off anyways. Um, the night culture is very less here, I feel. Weekends, the one day is your cleaning, washing, and all that in a normal scenario, and then there's one day where you like, then you try and divide it, and sometimes you just want to be at home and rest
Yeah.
because you're more like, I'm going to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think that's where I do see that part of it.
Hmm.
But people still do socialize, obviously. But that's less. I feel in India it's a lot more, and it's a big change
Hmm.
to those two social circles, I would say. But apart from like the language we speak, the living behavior, um, like a lot of that joint family concept, even though India's waving down on that, anyways. India's westernizing, I think. Um, that's a bit of a change as well. Like a very um, surprising to my wife. At that time, we were dating, and I told her that for us to have a future, like my parents have to live with us, which was very weird for her, but she still does it somehow. That my parents and my brother who lives with us, my
Hmm.
sister-in-law as
Wow.
well.
Wow. Wow. So how's your partner is coping with that? Like for her, it's a new thing as well, right?
Yes, it is. Well, she's been doing it for 5.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, she's done it for 5.5 years, and she loves me enough to be able to go through this. Obviously, there's a lot of transition for her as well.
Hmm.
She's
Hmm.
taking that journey from Hawaii to Namaste
Correct.
in
Correct.
a way
Correct. Yes.
because of me. So, yeah, so, so I'm just happy that she's very supportive.
And see, we can see that, like for us, getting into the Australian culture, because we are coming to Australia, we are living in Australia, so it's pretty easy for us, like we are trying to accept that life, and we are happy to accept that. While someone like your wife, if for her it's completely different culture, completely different people, completely different mindsets, so when she does not do something, then people feel like, oh, why she's not doing it. My wife is from different cultures. She's Indian, but she's from different culture than me, and she struggled a lot. And then she was like, "Oh, why they are doing that?" And
Yeah,
yeah, it happens like more often it's in an initial stage, but eventually they get it. So, but yes, it definitely for I know maybe challenging for her. I would reckon that for her it's really hard. Has she ever been to India or never?
yeah, she's been to India.
You been to
Oh,
India?
well, we went on the wedding. That's
Wow.
when my parents first time met her.
Ah, right. Great, amazing. Okay, so on that note, so when you felt like what at what stage of your life you feel like now Australia is my home. I'm not going back. Now I'm settling here, and yes, this is my home now, new home now.
Um, well, it's funny you asked that. That's part of the preview of the second volume, and that's on the day of the Australian citizenship ceremony. where I'm listening to Jangan, and it's like you always think about it though, right? Like when you come to a country, like, oh, I'm gonna get a citizen, I'm gonna get that foreign passport that I can travel everywhere in the world, and I'm gonna be unstoppable, and this and all that, and I'm gonna make a lot of money. Think of one of the things that you forget. Um, when you take that, you actually lose what you had as well, which you never realized you would. Like, giving that Indian passport, that identity that um you move away from, and um even though I'd always thought of living here, the day of the citizenship ceremony was the day where I was like, okay, well, this is it. I'm taking a pledge today.
Yeah,
And if Australia goes to war with a country, that's where I'm meant to be fighting.
correct.
So that's a lot of time. So yeah, that's when there was a big, like realization
Mm,
that okay, the citizenship time is the time. Um, this is it. Now my family and my generations from here would
mm.
be growing up here, most
Have
likely.
you have you ever had that thought to go back to India ever? Like, let's say 20 years later.
I miss India, but I also know that I would not fit in at all. Like I'll probably be seen as that Aussie guy, and like the way I am now and everything. And like I love to go there and spend time with my friends and everything. I've never had the thought of moving there permanently though.
Right. Great. Me too. I never like I know that I will not fit in. I will not fit in
Yeah.
that cohort again, you know. So yes,
Yes.
great. Thank you for that. Right. So now let's move on to the next segment. Yeah, about the success. So what's in your like different for everyone. So for me, success is something I do and I achieve. Uh, but generally speaking, what is the success look like in Australia?
That's I feel success is a very personal thing. It's like about what you set for yourself. If you are happy with it and you're actually helping others and be in that position where you can, um, but making sure the ones around you are looked after. You're thinking of them, giving them the life opportunities, and making sure that you can enjoy life and have that balance in terms of like giving some time to your family, plus also learning something new and being in a position where you are that expert in certain things, where you can get up and actually go for it. Um, but if I was to say in simple terms, like my version of success the day I landed here
Hmm.
was, finish my masters, do well in that studies, get residency, get citizenship,
Yeah.
like have the best opportunity for myself financially and make my family part of it. So
Hmm.
anything you would have asked that kid who landed on that day to write down on that list, everything I would have said, I was lucky that it's already done.
Hmm.
And that's where the realization was like 5.5 years ago. Apart from talking about people who belong to more than one culture, is like, okay, well, this needs to be shared more. If people are not talking about it, or if people think it's such a big deal, that people need to hear stories like that more,
Hmm.
because a lot of them are thinking about doing it. No one's telling you what step two, three, and four.
Correct.
So a lot of those things were actually written in the book.
That's must read kind of, isn't it? Like, because if it includes all these things, then yes, I think all migrants at least once they should read the book, you know, because that will give you the insight of the story of success story, how you become successful and what are the recipe kind of thing. Like, okay, yes, challenges will be there for sure, but yes, how to overcome those challenges and how to become that person who thrives the success. So yeah, it's a must read, I think. Okay, so where we get the copies if you want to buy the book?
Yeah, the book's actually available worldwide on Amazon, Kindle, um, your Apple Books, pretty much everywhere you would buy books, you should be able to find them. But if you want to order a signed copy, you can go directly in Australia on the website theindianmate.com. Um, so that's where you can order that and request it, where I sign it, and we ship it to you as well. So, but yeah, like you can order it from anywhere, printed or online version of it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for our viewers, I'll put the link in the description for the purchase link, so you can go and buy the book. Thank you so much for that, Divesh.
Thank you. I hope you appreciate it.
No, Great, great. And we wish that your book will be a huge success. Like you worked so hard for that book, and you put your heart and soul in that. So yes, it has to be successful. So we wish you the best of luck for that, for the book.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Krunal.
Great. And then yes, you say no to the volume 3, but we hope that you will change your mind and and help
I say
others.
never, but I'm telling you that there's I literally lost my mind. I don't know if I'm ready to do that again. It has to be something really like bothering me, or really something that has a purpose driven that I can keep going that long again.
Yeah. No, but that should be. See, it's a help to the other people. So yeah, just keep that that mindset in your back of your mindset. Okay, so it's you're not doing for yourself, you're doing for other people. So yeah, great. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so let's move on to the another segment of our podcast, which is a growth part, like how someone can grow themselves in Australia. So from coming from a student or as a migrant, at very bottom level, struggling from accommodation to the giant growth I'm talking about. Let's say someone wants to become a CEO, or someone wants to open a business, entrepreneurship, and all that. So, what are the growth strategies, in Australia? What could you advise on that?
Definitely. Well, I haven't been a CEO. I've been a founder, but that was for my own idea. I've been a CTO. Um, but I can try and answer as to what paths you could take to try and go down there. Like, number one, I would say is not getting comfortable after a while. I think it's very easy where you're like, okay, I've got my residency now, I've got this life, and time to get a new car or new this or do stuff. So probably not doing that, but maybe investing into something you've been wanting to, or an idea or things like that you've been wanting to try. To give you an idea, for the first 10 years, I pretty much worked 7 days a week. But that was more like you'll have an office job Monday to Friday, and then I'll probably do a Friday night shift at McDonald's. And then Saturday and Sunday, you'll pick up some odd jobs and stuff like that. And that was with a lot of perspective of earning that extra cash, trying a lot of jobs as to what I like, what I don't like. And sometimes the weekend jobs would make me happy to go to my job on Monday as well. I would value that more, and
Correct.
I would not be like taking it for granted. Um, that's the few things, but then also being mindful of the network you're building, because a lot of the people you're meeting, they are gonna, like, Australia's a very small place, I would
Hmm,
say.
hmm.
You'd meet them sooner or later, or they'll be connected to someone. There's common connection. Even you and I have a few common connections on
Correct.
LinkedIn, and I'm sure you know these people that are not.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a very small world. So it's building that rapport of yours and actually delivering on what you say, whether it's, even getting to your job on time, or what you said in your interview, or what you've committed on that project. You've got to think of it like that's going to be your brand name in the future. Um, which does lead down to a few things I've said in this interview, which is like a lot of people get hired because they can be trusted. You know them, you're in the network, you know what they're like, they're part of that culture. Um, People can count on you, people know what you like.
Hmm,
So with all those habits and reaching out to people outside your comfort zone,
hmm,
just because like sometimes you don't do it because you could be rejected.
hmm.
Like I've been rejected so many times, and I think I fail every day.
Right. Oh.
It's so I think it's crazy when you don't fail, um, because it just means you're doing the same stuff,
Hmm.
and I just think that's boring, to be honest. Um, so no, but it's like such a monotonous thing to do. Um, in terms of the career, I think you should always be, but it's having the curious mindset, like why is that doing this, or who's doing what, where's the gap in the market, or what can I do to solve a problem. Those are the things that I did. Even with the CTO role, the reason I got that was because I had launched my own app. I was doing stuff in that space, and I met someone I'd worked with in the past, and they're like, "Oh, I need some help, and I know you can do it. Even if you can't, I know if I give you the job, you'll figure out a way to do it because you've been across all these aspects that I see." That's how I got like a really big role that I was not ready for and I didn't have much experience with. Um, So I think a lot of those things go a long way. Um, like even in my other job, there was about 800 people in that organization, but my personal goal would be once a month I
Hmm.
have to go out for a coffee with a new person in a different department.
Wow.
Um, and it's amazing how much you learn from people.
Hmm. You're right. You're right.
And it's like a free
A
session with
human
someone
library.
who's, yeah. So those are the kind of things. And that's where I was saying that don't be hesitant to reach someone on LinkedIn. Yes, not a lot would reply. But if you find one good person that's good as going through a lot of that hoops, that having that mentor, that just the motivation that how that person did it. And I hope listening to this motivates people that these kind of things do happen, like I did it. I've been to jobs like where I sent the resume and the hiring manager said it was a casual job at a retail store for a weekend, and they're like, "Oh, we're not looking for casual at the moment." And I just said, "Let's just catch up for coffee. That's fine. Just keep me in mind." And I went there the next week. The owner's son was there. We caught up, and the hiring manager. And the next week, he gave me a trial shift,
Whoa. Nice.
and they weren't hiring.
Yes, excellent, excellent. See, these are the tips, like the golden tips, I would say, making network. And I don't know, Divesh, but somehow it's all coming up to the one thing, like this is my networking platform. Off the camera. That this is somehow I make my network. I work from home and I'm a migration. I've got a lot of clients, but my network is this. And everybody, like as you're saying right now, everybody end up saying this thing, networking is the key in Australia. Like whatever you do or whatever you don't do, just build a good network. That's the key here. That's the key. Yeah. Yeah. And lot of advantages, and the way you are showing here, it's amazing, like having a coffee with someone and getting hired is like, how amazing is that? you will
Yes.
it will cost you like 10 interviews, getting ready and going there. And this is just first interview, and if you're having coffee, that's great. Amazing. Amazing. So
Thank you.
can you share some of those other ideas, like how you build your network?
I'm trying to think on the spot here. Um, there's a lot in the book.
Oh, is it? Okay, great. All right, then read the book.
um, I think it's more like even following like-minded people and like sharing relevant stuff that's actually to your field, not just trying to look cool and sharing about Chat GPT where you don't know anything about tech, for example. And going to like, there's a lot of opportunities like meetup groups at the moment that you could go to. There's an meetup, the app, where there's groups of like-minded topics and everything. You can try and join those. um, yeah, and look for opportunities like that, which a lot of people who are experts in your industry, I'm sure, would be sharing every now and then. Um, what else? What else can you do to grow your network? I think working in a great place like that helped me a bit, obviously. Making the network, um, trying to actually be more giving as well at the same time, not just be the taker. I know, like you might be young and not able to offer much, but you just know if the person's a giver or a taker. I think it's more like you go with the giver's mindset or takers. If you're both, like what I always ask myself the question, what value can I add for this person? Um, you always try to lead with that, and whether it's more like having time for them, talking about their personal problems or whatever, they're having a hard day at work, be there for them. And I know a lot of people say it, but not a lot of people do it. Because it takes hard work and pain to actually leave something that you would like to do and put someone else first. I think that those are some of the things I definitely say to keep in mind while building those relationships.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to the next question, that you are yourself a founder of an app. So we can take it as an entrepreneurship, like you have done something new, trying to solve a problem. So how is the entrepreneurship market is in Australia? Because these days entrepreneurship became so fancy word. Everybody wants to be entrepreneur and all that,
Yes,
So it's a
it's a cool
bit of
thing.
a hype going on for the entrepreneurship. What's your take on that?
Um, yes, well, I agree. There's a lot of hype going on, and my journey in being an entrepreneur has been like that. It's like I've got a family to feed. I don't want to sell my house because I'm trying to be the next Steve Jobs or so-called cool entrepreneur. So I've always kept it as a balance. I mean, first is have I actually prepared myself to be a good entrepreneur? What are the qualities of it? Am I a good leader? Can I actually think of ideas and actually commit? Do people actually listen to me? Do people follow me? Or do I have a plan? Or what does my next 2 to 3 years idea sort of look like? And is that actually different? Have I tested it with people? What's going to be my things like unique value proposition?
Hmm.
What's my timeline? What am I going to do when I put in a lot of money and it fails? Or how I'm going to like all the steps you have to think it through, like whether
Hmm.
it's the book, whether it's my business. I always have a Kanban board, like all the sticky notes on my wall of the bed, so that when I get up I
Mhm.
have to look at it. there's
Wow,
no
amazing.
there's no way around it. So, and I think, yes, there's an aspect you feel good about it, but then it does come up with a lot of responsibility
Hmm.
as well at the same time, if you want to take it seriously.
Yep.
If you just want to be saying it for the sake of it, yeah, different story. Um, so yeah, like right now, I am committed to being that. I'm still working on my own ideas. I have a team of developers who implement my ideas. I'm currently working on the next platform for a social platform for being able to find mentors that I'll be launching this year. Um, but those are things that I'm genuinely passionate about because I know how much people have helped me in real, like having the one-on-one experiences that I spoke about. So that's something I'm planning on this year. In terms of previous ones as well, like you find the niche in the market, you fail, but you learn from it, and then you change your market strategy, your customer set, or you try and bring partners on board. So there's so much. I mean, I could do an interview probably about that, but to answer your question, yes, it's a lot of 3 a.m.s, and then probably like I actually work as a product manager in a stone business at the moment where I had their software division. But then in the evenings, I come home and I work on my own idea or any business that I do that I get. And I've got this whole roadmap as to how I'm going to manage like 7 people that work for me.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Excellent. So you got 7 people working for you right now.
Yes. So I've got a
Wow.
whole team that's overseas. So I do a lot of work here
Mm-hmm.
where I set up the roadmap, client
Mm-hmm.
consulting, everything. But then I handle the development and everything overseas so I can do it after hours.
Wow. So you like busy, full on busy, right? Wow. And
You
you
try to
wrote
be,
and you wrote a
and
book
somehow
out of
promote.
that.
Yes. So,
Amazing.
but that's what I said. Everyone's busy.
Yeah.
Um, but it's
You need
like
to find a time. You need to find a time, right?
you find time for stuff that's important to you, whether it's watching Netflix
Yeah.
or whether it's actually
No, that's my
learning
next
something.
question. Next question. What's for you? So you're working full time, traveling, plus when you go home, you work on these projects and all that. So how you energize yourself? Do you do anything for yourself?
Um, Spend time with my family. That's energizing. Like look at my kids. Like especially because I have less time. I am tired. Like there are hard days where it's hard to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't deny that. There's days where I have to take it easy for my health.
Hmm.
Um, but what energizes me, like building on new challenges that people, like a lot of people haven't thought of yet, finding that unique thing. Um, those are the kind of things, and solving problems. That's something, if you look back, a lot of us have been doing all our life, but being able to implement into something that technology can solve. Those are the things that are very motivating to me. And 9 out of 10 days, I'm running with that. That hey, I'm part of something that can actually change that whole thing. Um, and then yeah, like with the little time I get with family, you spend it as quality time. You value that more rather than you just sitting next to my kids and watching YouTube. We don't do that. So we will go to the park or play together and stuff like that. Or yeah, so that's how I try and manage everything.
But so how hard it is for someone to work that long hours, or maybe just normal jobs like 8-10 hours job, and maintaining family, like work life balance, we would say. Is that in the game, or like a lot of businessmen, entrepreneur, like big entrepreneur says 9 to 5 and work-life balance and all that. That's all crap that been created. But is it what's the truth? Like I just want to know.
I I think if you're an entrepreneur, um, it's like you're always kind of on. Either you're thinking about the next idea, you're thinking about the current one, how to get it going. You're probably still contemplating why the last one failed and what else you could have learned from it. Um, that's my version of being an entrepreneur, but like it totally depends on your life goals. If you're happy with just a job, you don't want to be an entrepreneur. Um, obviously, you have a lot more time to be able to balance it and give it to people. And like yes, a lot of people talk about that, but I think that's everyone's different. Their mindset could be more like that's like the focus hours, and somehow they've learned to switch off. So good for them. Um, but I've found like that helps me like think more. Like even outside hours, when you're looking at stuff, you're like, why does that happen this way, or why does not exist, or this can be done better, and I'm gonna do it.
Hmm. See, I usually don't ask this question to everyone, but because you work in a tech industry and you are in there, so technology with ChatGPT and all AI and everything's going crazy these days. What is the future we are looking at? So is it like after down the track 10 years, 20 years, will we don't need humans and all that? Will that happen?
I'm not a futuristic. I can, but I can answer the technology question for you, which is definitely coming. You like it or not, it's like your smartphone, how is addicted you. I'm not sure if you've tried using ChatGPT, but
I'm using it every day.
are you?
I
Okay.
have
Uh,
to.
well, there you go. You don't seem to have any problem.
Yeah, no
um,
problem. No.
like a lot of my friends use it for follow-up emails and sales and stuff like that. It definitely is adding value in today's day, and I can only see it going next level in the sense that being voice controlled or being able to actually see your search behavior and recommend you the next thing as to what you might ask, or being able to actually have those talks with you because it's someone you can have openly chats with and give you feedback whether you're struggling mentally or guidance and stuff like that. Like I do see that playing a lot of role.
Hmm.
Um, that's what I can say for now, but
Hmm.
it's definitely something that we will not be able to avoid.
Hmm.
From a futuristic or job perspective, what kind of impact that would have, it's kind of very hard to answer because a
No, no,
lot of those answers
jobs.
can.
I'm pretty confident it will create jobs. So when I was using ChatGPT and friends asked that why you done this is taking jobs and all that. I said no. Email never took a job of a postman. So it never
Yeah,
happened. Like still, sometimes some visa applications I have to post, and still I go to the post office. I have to stand in the queue for 45 minutes. And I said, where are
yeah,
the emails? What are the emails doing? Go, why these guys are posting this many stuffs. But yes, it will never take a job. Like jobs will be there for sure. It just
yes,
facilitate the thing. So it will not, so like some of the apps they've developed, this is it will work as a lawyer for you or a migration agents for you. And even like with the chat gpt, when I need some help, I write a question to chat gpt and say, okay, whatever the answer they give, so no, but still you check with the migration agent. And I say, hey, I'm the migration agent, why are you asking me to check with the migration agent? But that's what happens. It will never take jobs. Jobs is, I think,
yeah.
it's just a bad mindset people have that it will take jobs. But yes, I'm against it. It will not take jobs. Yeah.
I think it will help cover the first step, and then it's going to the expert. So I think if I'm trying to be the futuristic, I think we as humans would have to become that expert who are ready for step two and like specialization in that one field
Right.
of expert where once something like that refers to us or to be sure, because people would have more knowledge. It's the same with real estate. Sometimes when a real estate agent's selling the house, you
Hmm.
know more about it because you've seen it online on websites, for
Correct.
example. So a lot of those things, you're right, like that. I agree that can happen, but who knows? That's
Yeah.
what it looks like.
Who knows? Yes. Down the track. Yes, it has. It has like everything has like, okay, it has two uses. one is the good one, the how you use it, and the other one is the yes, misuse it. So yes, if it goes in the wrong hands, yeah, maybe devastating, but yeah, let's hope for the best. Okay, let's move on to our next segment, which is the last segment of our podcast, and in that we talk about Australia. So how you think, what you think about the current situation in Australia, like let's say inflation, job shortages, and people shortage, and all that.
Yeah. It's definitely stressful times. That how 11 times I think the interest rate has gone up. It's definitely not boosting everyone's confidence. Um, so especially like um, it's not long ago that we came out of COVID. People are probably still settling or getting used to jobs, and um, I'd say like a middle class family in today's world, it's it's becoming a bigger deal to be able to go out and have a meal or dinner with your family. That's the honest fact. Like it's close to double the price of everything. So, but then it's again that whole circle of yes, people shortage or people not wanting to go to work a lot, people valuing their life, and we still like finding that balance in between as to what you want to do and stuff like that. So I think it's very hard at the moment
Hmm.
for majority of the people. But it's a phase that we all have to get used to it. I
Yeah.
mean, some more than other. If you've made your savings, you know, um, you can definitely like you'll obviously find it a lot easier. You've learned a new skill.
Hmm.
You can easily transition into higher paying jobs
Hmm.
as well in these kind of times. If there's people shortage, a lot of people would be willing to give role of a higher capacity to someone who's done similar stuff before.
Hmm.
And again, in back to that same circle of if you're a student looking for a job, the same things apply here.
Yeah.
If you're actually aiming to be a CEO or a CTO, you show what you've done in that similar capacity.
Hmm.
And I think it's an opportunity here as well where you could punch for that step above. Whereas a lot of people are more scared, more conservative, worried about their job. Where I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are like, how do I get next level from this job now?
Correct.
There's a
Excellent.
lot of shuffling going around.
Yeah. And
That's what I think.
no, and see, government is trying to boost migration, firstly. So just to minimize these impacts, like they're trying to bring more people in Australia, and they feel like, yes, the government is thinking that okay, that will solve majority of the problems because of the all the inflation and everything, whatever we lost during the COVID, bringing more people will be the solution to it. How you see that?
Well, I just see it as a lot of people are getting opportunities. I think there were a lot of rules about that people can work full time as well now if they wanted to while they're studying and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing opportunities. I wish it was there at my time, to be honest. It's like we we had that 20-hour rule, and you have to
Correct.
be very careful, and you don't want to get deported
Yeah.
and things like that.
Mm.
Well, I think it's a great time to be here in terms of
Mm.
like with all that support and that open mindset. I mean, you like the average wage. I mean, it's like what $22 or something at the moment. And people are getting paid a lot of higher, like more than those salaries, and it's much easier to get those opportunities if you just do a little bit of that preparation and put your best foot forward, actually prepare for it. So, like, I think we're in a very good spot that way. But yes, it doesn't help with all that media news going into recession, um, all that interest rates and all that going up. So it's obviously affecting as well. Like even businesses, they are hesitant to make more investment, like everything. So it does impact us.
Let's go back to year 2008 when you arrived in Australia first. So, but let's say if today is the same day, and if you are in India right now, would you come to Australia? Like, would you choose Australia to be your next destination?
Yes, I definitely would.
Yeah.
Any day.
Great. Great.
Um, Mostly because I think, like I said before, there's a lot more opportunities. There's a bigger network of people that are similar to me. I can learn a lot while I'm in India. I can prepare myself for it. I'm not coming here without any knowledge. And like we just spoke about,
Hmm.
like the government wants people to come, and there's a lot of options to be able to support yourself.
Hmm.
And I see it as there's more opportunity, especially when you land here with
Hmm.
all the jobs. Like I've said before, like your Uber Eats, this and all that.
Yeah,
In our time, it was so hard.
it
Like
was.
I was traveling. I'm not sure how much you know, but are you from Melbourne? I didn't ask that. Like, but
No,
I'm
I'm
guessing you know.
currently in Melbourne, but I landed in Sydney first.
Yeah. Like I used to travel about 100 or so k's just for one night shift to make sure it's in the countryside, and I have like a fixed shift on the weekends, which suits my schedule. And I didn't leave the store for like 2.5, 3 years. Um, I would cross 100 McDonald's to get there. Um, but that was like more from a job security perspective because it was hard to find jobs where you could keep consistently getting stuff, like your regular shifts. And in your holidays where you could get full-time work and works around everything for you. Um, I think you wouldn't have that problem in a lot of ways here. If you look hard enough now, you could probably find it within 20 k's of your circle.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, I think only if I had that energy of that guy came in 2008, um, I could work like 4 days straight, like sometimes sleep on the train, catch up on that,
Wow.
go from one job to the other.
Hmm.
But that felt like fun at that time.
It
I
was.
still
It was.
remember when
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I
I
remember
used
I
to
did my
change
first
my
shift.
like two jobs. Used to change my uniform in the car. Like.
Yeah, you do that. I've slept in the car.
Oh,
And
there
like,
you go.
okay, there's 3 hours. Have a power nap.
Yeah.
S- my- Now, good on you for being able to do that. Yeah, I still remember when I did a full shift at that time. I think my wage was around $15 an hour.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, I just made close to $100,
Hmm.
like $16 an hour or something. And that was an achievement in itself. And then you convert it to Indian rupees, and I'm like,
And that was
geez,
like,
that's a
yes,
lot of money.
a lot of money. Yes, it was like month worth of pay, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, I just want to keep doing this. And you feed off that. And that
Yeah.
keeps you in line. I think otherwise you'll go crazy because there's no one here to support you in a lot of ways and that you're used to and getting used to everything new. You're the foreigner. So yeah. But yes, I would do that any day if it was me. Um, and but plan for it. That's my advice. Yes, we all have those same dreams, and always say that all the successful and the unsuccessful people have the goals. They all have goals. So I wouldn't say have goals, but actually put a plan around and actually be real as to how much you're covering, or is it just talk? Because talk's cheap.
Yeah. Easy. Easy. Great. Thank you. So this is next question is the question that I ask most of my guests. So the one thing, if you have a power, if you have authorities, and if you have a mindset to change, that what one thing that you will change in Australian immigration? That okay, this thing needs to be changed.
Thing needs to be changed. Um, I think I've seen a lot of people from Europe coming here on like a visa, like a holiday visa or things like that, where they can come here, work at a farm, and experience the culture and things like that. I I would want to explore the option if I had a superpower as to how like people from developing countries like India or Pakistan or Nepal and Sri Lanka, all of that area, like how can those youngsters come in here and actually see for themselves how they can add to Australia's power? Like clearly like we need more people. If there was a way to be able to keep that accountability so that they don't tear their passport and stay forever or like do the wrong things, being able to control that is probably a better way to say that. That's probably one thing if I had the superpower in the migration side of it that I like to do. Give opportunities to all those people who are dreaming about it as to what it's like, give them a taste of it, but so that they can probably then go back after that. They're much more prepared. Um, and then they come here with a lot of that experience, and they've seen that. So I think giving that in the younger times is something I like to do. And I think from Australia's perspective, it's more it's getting more people attracted to them.
Great. No, amazing. See, this working holiday visa is working great for Australia, and yes, those nations that you mentioned, like yes, all these top nations getting that advantage, but yes, the developing nations are not, and a lot of skilled kids are there, out there who are really, potential for Australia. So yes, they should develop a program where they come here temporarily, stay here for a year or so, and if they
Yeah.
are talented enough, then they can, find their way out. So amazing, beautiful suggestion. We will raise that.
Thank you. Sure.
We'll raise this. It's amazing, Yes, yeah, and okay. So overall, last few questions. That are you consider yourself happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thankful every day.
Can money buy
Yeah, I
happiness?
whinge to my wife and stuff, but other than that, yeah, I love my life.
Oh, that's happens. It's every day, every home's problem. So yeah, but so let's say yes, you consider you're happy, but do you think that money is the necessary component to buy happiness for you and your family?
I think money plays a role. Um, and I mean, depending on what your job is, in the sense that my job is to make sure they're never short of it. And, like, we always have that financial security. Well, I feel anyway, it's self-inflicted in a way. So yeah, I would say money does play a role. Otherwise, obviously, you're stressed, you pass it on to everyone else in the family and things like that. Um, but obviously, having the relationship with your family is equally important as well. So money can't be everything. Being on the same page, being able to understand each other, um, all those things. So yeah, but money does play a big role. So that's the honest answer. I'm not going to say no, this and all that. It does, but obviously equally on the other side, being there for them, um, actually teaching them what you've learned, or giving them the confidence that they're not alone, or we're in this together, hearing their problems, being the support system as well. So yeah.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much for that. All right. So before we consolidate, could you please tell our audience the last message to flourish in Australia, like how they can make their life amazing in Australia?
If I was to give one message for anyone who's thinking of coming to Australia, um, and making a life here, I'd definitely say come with an open mindset. Um, Prepare yourself in India for all those things that you're planning to do here, so that you have an edge over the competition, and it would help you with your confidence, looking for jobs and things like that. Reach out to like Facebook groups who are related to it. Talk to good people who bring people here, like a good immigration agency, good immigration agent. Ask them the questions. Trying to use their network to be able to have access to people who've been there or have some conversations.
Yeah.
Um, Make sure you save some money, and even if you could, like, um, if you stay in one city, try and go to the other one for a bit, like for a month, and try and do some job there, so
Mm.
that you know what the feeling of homesickness is, and you're taking it in stages.
Mm.
A lot of people like that I know, for example, came from Ludhiana straight away to Melbourne, which is a big jump.
Yes.
Um, it's straight away coming in the middle of the whole chaos of the rat race.
Mm.
Um, so obviously it can get overwhelming. Take some English classes. Like, what really helped me was working in things like call center. I got professional coaching, going to a convent school, um, everything that helped me in terms of being able to transition here faster. But again, going back to the same thing, walk on that journey before you come here and see everything that relates to you, that you're going to need and what's going to happen, that gets you towards your end goal. Obviously, there's not a perfect plan always, or I don't think there's always ever a perfect plan, but this will cover a lot of that aspect. And in a lot of cases, you will know what to do. And if you go with that mindset, you'll actually attract people like you, that you'll be more confident in your decision making, and you'll not waver around. Even with things like whether you come here in a good course, and then people tell you, oh, take this course, you'll get your residency quicker and things like that.
Mm.
Those are the decisions you probably would not make at
Yeah.
that time, in the feeling of it when you're lonely, which would probably be the second thing I'd like to do is, if I had the superpower, Krunal,
Hmm.
a lot of these people lose their track and park their dreams for now that I'll come and chase it later.
Yeah.
I just wish less people did it.
Right. 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 Hmm. Thank
So yeah,
you.
that's probably my advice. No,
Great.
thank
Great.
you.
That's great.
Um,
Amazing. The last line was eye opener. Thank you. That's my takeaway from today's podcast. Thank you so much. It's great pleasure having you, Divesh, on our podcast, and we are pleased, inviting you whenever you get a time to be on our podcast. We are pretty much doing it any day. So please don't hesitate. But today is your session. Your information, your guidance will be helping a lot of our migrant viewers who are trying to get into Australia. And it was a great session. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Krunal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Namaste.
Namaste.